Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Deluxe Class Airazor from Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy. This is another one I was very excited to get when they announced it because I never had it as a kid, so I was very much looking forward to it. Right away on the front of the box, beautiful artwork, looks great, very reminiscent of her appearance on the show, so I'm very excited about that. And you have this cool Hulk mode right here on the front. Over here you have kind of the standard Kingdom, mural or artwork we have on the side of every packaging. Not too much going on the top or the bottom. Spinning around to the back, of course, we have the robot mode and the Hawk mode. In that kind of cave painting aesthetic that they have going for it there. So pretty neat packaging. I'm going to go ahead, get Airazor out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. So here is Airazor out of the packaging, and she looks pretty great. They did a really nice job with her. That head sculpt is perfect. It looks exactly like the show. They did a really nice job with that. I will say, though, real quick, because this confused me for a while, the wings in the packaging are, like, weirdly mistransformed. So when I got this in the box, you can see here how the wings have this little tab. And they're not really meant to go... like, they're kind of meant to rest here. You can see that there's a little indent for them. Well, depending on how you bend this, it's possible, and let me see if I remember how I did this, to actually, like, bend this back so that the tab is on the other side and it passes through that little area. Let me see, how did I do this? This was like this, and then somehow it snuck through, and then the wings were folded up like this in the packaging. So both of them were folded up like this so that it was a very tight little block on the back. And when I first started trying to do this, I'm thinking to myself, the tab is on the wrong side. Like, the tab's over here, as you can see. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I do this? Is this mistransformed, misassembled? What's going on? So when you get this out of the box, make sure, because here's the tab and you don't want to break it off, you have to just kind of like, because you have this double jointed wing piece right here, it's possible to kind of like rock this back and slide that through, and then you get it on the right side, and then it can rest in that little spot right there. So just a word of caution, because that definitely messed with me for the first little bit trying to get her out of the box. And now you have the tab on the right side of that joint. It fits in the indent. Everything looks good. If you want, you can flip the wings all the way out in the robot mode if you like, which is kind of a cool look. Otherwise, you can do a kind of shorter wingspan. You can see that that tab is supposed to fit into this tab slot right here. So you bring this back, and then this is supposed to tab in right there, and then it bends here. So bring this back, and then bring this tab it in there. So this is kind of what the wings are supposed to look like when they're on her back, like so. And then if she wants to pop them out, it kind of gives her a smaller wingspan, which I think makes more sense for the robot mode. If you want to do the full giant wingspan, there's nothing stopping you. If you like that aesthetically better, you certainly can do that. But they do give you some tabs to get it so that the wingspan is about that big, which I think looks pretty good. And then you can just kind of pop them down to hang at her back like so. So now that we've talked all about her wings, let's talk about the rest of her articulation. So head is on a ball joint, so you have a lot of up and down movement there. A little bit of rock side to side, and certainly full rotation all the way around on that ball joint. You have a hinge and swivel here in the shoulder. Now the shoulder pads are independent, so you can move those around. And then of course you have the swivel and hinge in the actual shoulder itself. But you can see how when you move the shoulder, it kind of moves the shoulder pad as well, because they're very tight, but you can still move it around. You have a bicep swivel. You have a little over 90 degrees in the elbow. And then you kind of have this weird second elbow. Now that's really just for the transformation, but it's there if you can, want to pretend like she's got a double jointed elbow or something. I guess you can, but they're kind of far apart and it doesn't really look natural. Well, as natural as it can for a robot that turns into a hawk. Anyway, we have waist movement here, like so. Here in the hips, you have a nice hinge and a rotation. Don't have a thigh swivel where you would think it is. It's right down here where the, obviously the two different colored plastics meet. The orange meets the kind of darker brown. You have a thigh swivel there right above the knee, which is, I would say, maybe 120 degrees there on the knee. And then you have kind of a weird second, like backwards knee in the shin. And that's again for the bird mode. And then you have a ball joint here in the ankle. Now, if you like the look and you want her to have the hawk talons as her feet, you can certainly do so. And I keep going back and forth. I kind of like the look of that, but then they give you these kind of normal toes, more robotic looking toes, and then you can have the hawk talons as the heels. So whatever aesthetically you like, you have some options. You can do the bigger wingspan, you can do the smaller wingspan, you have some toe options. So all in all, I think she looks pretty great. I think they did a good job with her. She does come with two small accessories. I'm not even quite sure what the heck these are. They're like little arrowhead. I don't know. Anyway, they they peg on to her forearms here. You can see she's got the large peg spots there. It's almost like the whole size of her arm, which is kind of crazy, but that pegs in there. I mean, you could peg in anything else if you have target masters, weaponizers, anything you want can peg into those spots. She doesn't have anything on the bottom of her feet. You would think that they would have done something here, but they did not. And then she does have the same here on the thighs. So she doesn't have a ton of... Oh, she does have them here on the back. Okay. So I guess if you wanted, you could use her second knees or whatever and then use that connection there if you wanted to do something for her to stand on, like a weaponizer or fossilizer or something like that. So she's got a couple peg holes around for mounting weapons and things, so she's pretty set in that arena. But let's go ahead, let's get into the transformation. Honestly, the transformation is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. You can start by extending the wings all the way out, like I showed you earlier. So you just kind of unfold all that, and then we go for the full-on wingspan. You're going to come around to the back. You're going to pop this open and pop this open, and then they'll just kind of hang out there for a second. Now, this actually has a joint system, and I don't know if you can quite see it as I knock the camera around. You can see the joint right there, that kind of goldish color. So this is going to rock on that joint, and it's a little awkward to do sometimes, but you can kind of get it moving. Okay, so now you can see the joint. It's right here and here. So this piece was tucked under here. You're going to rotate it so that now it is straight up like that. So it just gives you a little bit of extra room in there. At this point, you're going to swivel the head around. Let me zoom out so you can actually see what I'm doing. The two heads are kind of connected to each other, so you're going to swivel the robot head inside, which will expose the hawk head. Then you're going to go ahead and peg this in up here. So that's all pegged in right there. You're going to take the arms, you're going to turn them so that the peg hole is facing up. Then you're going to, well, I guess facing up if you're holding it like this, facing down if you're holding it like this. You're going to use those second elbows and just kind of collapse everything here. And then this is going to come in, and you can see how there's kind of a little tab here on the bottom of the fist. And that's going to go right where that little tab spot is right there. It's just kind of a guide. So you'll bring this in, and you can see that that just kind of guides in there. So once again, rotate this like so. Use that second elbow. And then push this against the body. And just kind of guide that in there. So there you go. So it kind of makes like a box when you're all said and done. At this point, you're going to rotate the waist 180 degrees. You can push this in, and it's a little difficult, but yeah, it'll tab in eventually. So you can basically see the entire bird mode is up here on the top. So now we're just positioning the legs. So you're going to spin these around at the thigh swivels. Then you're going to bend them here at that second shin and spin the feet around. So spin this down, and then you're going to kind of push these all the way up, And then you can see that there is a large tab right there. And you kind of lift this up and you can see that there is a tab spot right there. So you're going to just lift this around until that tabs in there. And that's going to tuck the legs up underneath so that all you have is the kind of hawk feet. And then there you go. Whoops. I promise you can stand better than that. It's just about posing and weight distribution. So you can kind of lift this back a little bit. But there is your hawk mode. Oh, you can bring in the 2 weapon pieces and they will peg in here on the sides. So the hawk mode's pretty good. You have that full wingspan like I showed you before, and of course you have all that articulation as far as getting the wings to flap. You have a join here, join here, join here, this movement here. The head sculpt of the hawk I think is pretty decent. Can the mouth open and close? I feel like it can, but I can't get my finger in there. Yeah, it does. You can see it opens and closes ever so slightly. It's very difficult to get your finger in there, but the mouth of the hawk does open and close. The eyes are painted nice. I think the paint around the face looks pretty good. And you can actually, like this is on a hinge, you can see the pin right there. So if you want to do kind of a, like, I use the term standing up hawk, but it's not really standing up, but sometimes on the show she would kind of land, you know, kind of perch on something and kind of have her wings, you know, like this. Kind of like the owl on Winnie the Pooh, you know what I'm talking about. So you can pull off a pose like that if you like that. You can kind of have her stand there and talk to people in hawk mode, which is kind of cool. So you have a lot of nice options. I think the hawk mode's pretty successful. And then you have a decent amount of movement here in the legs. I mean, it's all the same articulation from robot mode because it is literally just, you know, from the knee down, just, you know, with these things kind of done at a 45-degree angle to... It reminds me of almost like when Cheetor or, you know, other kinds of, you know, beasts where it's just the cat leg, you know, stood straight up is now in robot mode. It's kind of something like that. But it works here. I really do think it works. And I do like the little hawk mode. I think Airazor is pretty great. The transformation is fairly simplistic, but I feel like it works. I think the robot mode and the hawk mode both look great. I like the way that they have the option of giving you the full wingspan in robot mode or the kind of smaller truncated wingspan in robot mode. I think both look great. So just kind of pick whichever one looks better to you. Also, you have a lot of posability in those legs because there's so many joints for both it being the robot legs and the hawk legs. But it gives you a lot of posability options there. I think all the paint applications look great. The accessories are not the best to me, mostly because I'm not really sure what they're supposed to be. Now I think she used to shoot feathers kind of like Silverbolt did, so maybe it's supposed to be something like that, or maybe they're arrowheads. I'm not really 100% sure what they're going for. They don't look bad. I'm just not 100% sure what they're supposed to be. But I also don't really remember what weapons she had, so I'm kind of thinking she might have shot like missiles out of her feathers, kind of like Silverbolt did, if I'm remembering correctly. I might not be, so I apologize. But head sculpt looks great. Like I said, posability, paint applications, transformation, all really good. So definitely recommend picking up Airazor. And I'm just going to say it now. I don't know how far this line's going to get. I'm hoping that even after Kingdom's over, they might transition into some like full-time Beast Wars line because they could go do all the Transmetals again. And then later on, you know, give us Tigerhawk. I'm just saying, wouldn't mind. Commander Class Tigerhawk, just floating the idea out there, Hasbro. I definitely would buy one. Anyway, this figure's great. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.